Chapter 24. Tiffany and the man are in the back seat of his car. She is sucking his dick. She bites him because she is still crying. He slaps her upside the head. "If you bite me again, your ass will regret it. I know you know how to suck a damn dick. It's up to you how I treat you. You will always address me as daddy. Now stop that damn crying and suck my dick good," he said as he pushes her head back down on his dick. Robbie. She is sitting in her den watching TV when her doorbell rings. She sees a young lady with a brown envelope. Who is trying to sue me now? Maybe I shouldn't answer it. Well, it's no sense in dragging it out. She is thinking as she opens the door. "Ma'am, I have a letter for you. But I need you to sign for it," that young lady said. "Oh, all right," Robbie said as she looks at the lady. After she signs it, she looks at the lady. She looks familiar, she said to herself. She walks back into the den, sits in her recliner and opens the envelope. She pulls out a check with her name on the pay to the line. The check is in the amount of $500,000. She faints. David and Mavis. David is still at the apartment at Mavis. He is packing the twins' clothes. But he is taking his time because he wants to see Mavis before he and the twins leave. He still cannot believe that Tiffany packed her bags and left the girls. He could care less about her leaving him. His mind was already made up that he would leave her. After all, she killed his mother, Melody, and Jensen's father. He doesn't like being married to a killer. Mavis is driving in her driveway when he is putting the luggage in the trunk of his car. I wonder what is going on, she is thinking while looking at him. As she steps out of her car. "What are you doing?" she asks as she is walking toward him and still looking at him. Tiffany packed her things and left. "I was waiting for you. I want to thank you for letting them stay here. The twins and I will be staying in my daughter's guest house." David smiles and shakes his head. "I never thought I would be saying that," he said, still smiling. "That woman left these kids here alone?" Mavis asks in an angry tone. She is looking at the twins sitting in the car. "No, I had them with me. I took them to the park and had a picnic. She had it planned she left while we were there. But that it's okay with me," David said, closing his trunk. "Well, I am here if you ever need any help with them. Do not be a stranger. I am happy that things between Christina are working out." She is smiling at him. "You have been a good friend. Even if I didn't deserve it. I am too." She and Jensen both are really very sweet. "You will see me soon. Well, I better get these two home, so I can feed and give them a bath," David said as he hugs her. Mavis hugs him but holds him a little longer before she releases him. Jensen and Christie's house. Jensen and Christie are driving up their driveway. Cliff, Bobby, and Eddie are driving behind them. Carl is one cold-ass son of a bitch. I never saw that coming. His baby sister, Jensen said as they drove into the garage. It didn't faze him at all. It was all about the money. She shakes her head in disbelief. Tiffany and Carl must have had a terrible childhood. They both are screwed up, he said as he is helping her out of the SUV. I agree, one is a serial killer and the other is a sex trafficker. Who knows what else? She is looking at Cliff walking over to them. What are you two going to do next? Since the killer bitch is taken care of, Cliff said as he is walking behind them. They are walking to the kitchen. Linda is looking at Christy and Jensen, then at the table. Christy nods her head, walks over to the sink to wash her hands, before walking to the table to sit down to eat dinner. Christy is not going to do anything for a while. She will be working from home until our little munchkin is born. I want to invite Robbie over to dinner one night, but not this week, Jay said as he is drying his hands. Christy nods her head. Linda, has David and his kids arrived yet? Christy asks. She is cutting a piece of lamb. No, not yet. But he did call. He said that they will be here as soon as he packs the twins' things. How are feeling about the twins being here? Linda is looking at her. She is concerned about her. Christy looks at her, holds one finger up, because she is chewing. I am not sure. It's not their fault that he left my mother and me. But I don't know if I am ready to bond with them right now, but I also don't want to see them going without anything. For my mother to give him my address, she must have had some hope for me to get to know him. I still am not completely sure how any of this is going to work out, she said, looking at Jensen. Jensen is eating but nods his head. Cliff, can you put up a swing, sandbox, and a little swimming pool close to the guest house? I think it's time for Mavis to meet her silent partners soon. Get Vicky to set it up for me in the next few days, Christy said. Sure. David is here, Cliff said, looking at the surveillance camera. David is driving into the gate. I do not want to see them right now. I am not ready. Maybe tomorrow, Christy said, shaking her head. Don't worry, sweetheart, you don't have to until you are ready. We will finish eating upstairs. Linda, I hope you prepared something else for the kids to eat. They might not like lamb, Jensen said as he picks his and Christy plates up. They are walking toward the elevator. Yes, I made them hamburgers and French fries, she said, smiling. I want a hamburger and French fries too, Christy said, looking at Linda. Linda laughs. I will send you a plate up by Cliff in a few minutes. Do you want me to leave your lamb? Jensen asks, looking at her plate. She is shaking her head. No, I am going to eat that too. Okay, Jensen said, laughing. Jensen and Christy are stepping on the elevator. We should stop by the nursery first, because I know once I sit down you are not going to let me get back up for a while, Christy said as they are stepping off the elevator. Jensen walks over to the table in the upstairs den. He sits there, plates down on it. Christy is walking to the nursery. I hope you like it, he said as he opens the door. Christy smiles. Yes, I love it. It's perfect. I can't express enough how much I love it. Baby, you did a wonderful job. Your ideas really made it look perfect. Our little munchkin is going to love it, she said, looking around the nursery. Jensen is standing behind her. He wraps his arms around her, rubbing her swollen belly. The first time I saw you, I was attracted to you, but I didn't want you to know it, he said, walking around in front of her. I felt the same way. I guess we both were being stubborn or scared, she said, looking at him, leaning down to kiss her belly. Jensen gets down on one knee. I want to spend the rest of my life with you as your husband. I love you, Christy. Will you marry me? He said while holding a classic 15-carat emerald-cut diamond ring. Yes. Oh, Jay, yes. She said, smiling with tears dropping on her cheeks. Jensen slides the ring on her finger. He kisses her belly one more time before he stands up, wraps his arms around her, attacking her lips. Tiffany and Daddy. Tiffany is in her bedroom at her new daddy's house. He has her laying on an adult diaper changing table, as he is putting a diaper on her. I am not like any of those nice daddies. I am the worst daddy. From here on, your name is Mary. I have always liked that name. You will dress like a baby, act, and live like one. You will never come out of character. If you do, I will beat the hell out of you. Her new daddy said as he shoves a pacifier into her mouth. She spits it out onto the floor. I am a grown-ass woman. I will not act like a fucking baby, she said, rolling her eyes at him. He backhands her in the face, knocking her off the diaper-changing table. He picks her up by her neck, choking her. Your ass does not listen well. Maybe I have a dumb-ass baby. Are you ready to die? That is the way you are heading, he said, looking at her as he is still choking her. Tears are running down her face. He throws her into the adult baby crib. I have you a bottle ready. You are too young for any kind of food right now. Maybe in a couple of weeks. You need to lose some weight anyway. You are a big baby. You need to lose at least 10 pounds. I will be back after I shower. I expect you to be ready to ride me tonight. Your ass better be good at it. If not, you will be punished. I expect your bottle to be empty when I come back, he said, sticking a bottle of milk into her mouth. He walks out of the room. Tiffany is laying in her crib crying, sucking on her bottle. I have to find a way to escape. Christina, you are one dead-ass bitch. As for my dear brother, your ass is dead too, she is thinking as she drinks her milk. Chapter 25. Robbie. When she woke up, she is on the floor. But the check is still in her hand. She looks at it again, then shakes her head and smiles. She sees the envelope. She picks the envelope. A note falls out onto the floor. The note. I am sorry about the money you lost. There is one more check to come. End of note. No signature is on it. I know I have seen that young lady before, but where? Who would give me all this money? She is thinking as she sits in a chair smiling. I am going to the bank first thing in the morning. Now I can pay this house off and put it in Jensen's name as his father wanted. It will remain in the family, she said as she is dancing to the kitchen to pour her a glass of wine. Mavis. I knew when I laid my eyes on that damn Tiffany that she was worthless. How could she walk away from those two beautiful little girls like that? I was talking to my neighbor Lori. She said that Tiffany was walking toward my house with a suitcase. She said that two men met her and they left. She didn't need those little sweet angels anyway. But I wish David would have stayed. I would have helped him raise them. She is thinking as she sits down to watch TV. Okay, Mavis, get your mind off of David. There is no future for you and him. You will get over him. It might take some time, but you will, she said as she reclines back and drinks her iced tea. Back at Christie and Jensen's. David and the twins walk into the kitchen. Linda motions for them to sit down at the table. She places 2 plates with hamburgers and fries in front of them. They both smile. She sits a plate of lamb, steamed broccoli, and mashed potatoes in front of David. "Where is Daphne?" "I mean Christina and Jensen," David asks, looking at Linda. "She is not feeling well. So Jensen took her to bed early. He said she will not be going back to the office until after she has given birth," Linda said, looking at Cliff walking on the elevator. "He is taking Chris her hamburger and fries. I hope she feels better soon. When Mel was pregnant with her, she had a lot of problems. Her blood pressure also was high a lot. She ended up on bed rest for the last 2 months of her pregnancy. I hope she doesn't have to go through that. It drove Mel crazy that she could not go out like she wanted to," David said, sounding and looking concerned. "One thing I know for sure is if that does happen, Jensen will take good care of her. He will make sure she rests, even if he has to carry her everywhere," Linda said, smiling, looking at the little girls humming as they are eating. "I believe he will," David said, smiling. "They seem to love each other a lot. I am glad she has him." David is nodding his head. Yes, they do love each other. Since the first day they met. I always said that they were destined to be together, that Melody found him for her and united them," Linda said, looking at Cliff walking off the elevator, smiling. "Spill it. What did she say?" Linda asks, looking at him. "She said yes," Cliff said, smiling. "Thank God," Linda said, smiling, clapping her hands. "Who said yes?" David asks, looking at Cliff. He is thinking that Cliff proposed to someone. "Chris said yes. She and Jensen are getting married," Cliff said, taking Linda by her hand, dancing around the kitchen. The twins step out of their chairs, dancing. David is laughing and smiling. "Daddy and Mary. Mary, don't you dare throw another block. I will take them from you, then punish you. You are always bad. Maybe I should just kill you. You are the worst baby I have ever had. No wonder that couple sold your ass," Daddy said, looking at her sitting on the floor. "My damn name is not Mary, you old fart. I am hungry and sick of milk," Tiffany is thinking, as she is looking at her daddy. "I have told you about looking at me like that. By the way, I heard what that beautiful pregnant woman said, that you will not kill again. If you are even thinking about harming me in any way, you will regret it, so I will advise you not to. Because if something happens to me, Raheem will automatically kill you. Nobody will ever know that you were even here." Mary throws a block at his foot. He stands up. He looks at her while he walks over to his desk drawer. He takes out a thick paddle. "I see that I have to show you that I do not be playing with you." He grabs her up by her ponytail. He starts hitting her, but with the paddle. She is crying, screaming, and running around in circles. When he finishes, he looks at her. "Sit down on that floor and play with those damn blocks like you have some sense. After that, I will give you a bath. You will be in my bed for a couple of hours until I am done with you. Then I will put you in your crib and give you your bottle." She is still crying, looking at him, nodding her head. Christy and Jensen. Christy and Jensen are laying on the sofa. She just finished eating her hamburger and fries. "Sweetheart, what night will be good to invite Robbie over for dinner?" he asks as he kisses the top of her head while rubbing her swollen belly. "Whatever night you feel comfortable with. Vicky delivered her check to you. She should be out of debt if she pays the collectors," she said, wiping her hands. "I hope I can go through with this. It is much harder with her," Jensen said, wrapping his arms around her. "Jay, if we can sit across the table from David. We can do it with Robbie. It is going to take time for us to forgive them. We don't have to rush into it. But having dinner with her is a start. Don't do anything you're not comfortable with." She leans her head back, gives him a peck on the lips. "You're right. Tomorrow after our doctor's appointment I have made a few plans. I am taking my beautiful pregnant fiancée out to lunch. After that, we will do a little shopping for Destiny," he said, looking at her. "Destiny? Why Destiny?" Christy asks, looking at him. Jensen is playing in her hair. "Because it describes our relationship. The way we met. It was our destiny. Destiny Holden. I like that, but now we need a middle name," she said, laughing. "I am going to leave that one up to you," Jensen said as he is picking up a book named The Little Ones and the TV remote. He turns the TV off and starts reading to Christy and Destiny. Chapter 26. The next morning, Cliff is standing in the yard watching several guys. They are putting together a swing set in a sandbox, merry-go-round and running water in a kiddie pool. David heard the noise, so he walks outside to investigate. He did not expect to see men building a playground beside the guest house. "Does Chris know about this?" Davis asks Cliff, pointing at the swing set. Cliff pats him on the back. "Yes, it was her idea." David smiles, looking around. "Wow, I never expected any of this. After all, I did sell Jensen and deserted her and Mel." "True, but she and Jensen are working on it. But they will need some time. You can't rush them. It really hurts Chris that you didn't want her but you want the twins. She is trying to deal with it and accept them. But truthfully, I do not know if that will ever happen. She has been hurting a long time over this. Even though she always tries to hide it. We know that she is." David is nodding his head, listening to Cliff. "Believe me, I understand. I regretted leaving them the moment I did it. I was young and stupid. I told a lie about the reason I was not in her and her mother's life. After that, I had to keep the lie going," David said, wiping tears off of his cheeks. "Mel did a hell of a job raising her. She never told Chris your name. Chris has a picture of you. We saw you and Robbie one day. Jensen pointed you out. That was when she learned your name." Cliff looks at him. "Oh, I didn't know that she didn't know my name until that day in her office. But I have a question. Maybe I should be asking her this. Why did she go to an auction to buy a boyfriend?" David is looking toward the house. He sees Christy and Jensen sitting on the balcony eating breakfast. Cliff laughs. For some reason, she was drawn to Jensen. When she first saw his picture in an email, she was head over heels in love with him. She kept trying to get him off her mind. But she couldn't. All of this was Mel's doing. She always felt that Chris would be alone, and will never fall in love. She always said that she would find the perfect man for her daughter and will arrange for her to meet him. Mel knew Chris would not like to be set up with anyone. So I believe she went about it this way. Cliff is looking at Jensen and Chris. Those two do look happy, David said, looking at the twins walking over to him. Believe me when I say they are. Cliff walks away. On the balcony. I am calling Robbie after breakfast. It's Saturday night, okay to invite her over? Jay said, pouring her a glass of juice. She looks at the glass of juice. Carrot juice? She asks, looking at him. Yes, it is healthy and good for you and Destiny. She drinks a sip of it. Tastes okay, Saturday is fine with me. She takes another sip and sits the glass on the table. Vicky walks out on the balcony where Jensen and Christy are having a late breakfast. She looks at Christy, then at Jensen. It a crazy-ass fan of yours. She started a fan club for you. Now her crazy ass is writing and emailing requesting pictures of you. PA department keeps telling her that you have an official page set up for your fans. They are not sending her anything and not authorizing her to be president of your fan club. You could have spoken first. But you seem to be upset about it. Don't let that get to you. Chris said, handing Vicky a pastry. Vicky takes the pastry. Well, I guess you don't care if your fiancé's ex-girlfriend is trying to find a way to get back in his life. She is looking at Jensen with her arms folded. Jensen stops chewing. He looks at Vicky, confused. What? Christy's attention is on Vicky now. His ex-girlfriend. How do you know that? Veronica. At least that is what she is telling everyone that she has spoken to at the company. Vicky is still looking at Jensen. Chris starts back eating. We saw her not too long away. She was not happy to see me and Jay together. PA handled it properly. Stop looking at Jay like that. He has no control of his ex-girlfriend acting like a stalker. Jensen takes Christy's hand. That day when we saw her. That was the first time I had seen her in about 2 years. I don't know where all of her being into me is coming from. Don't worry about it, Christy said, drinking her milk. I delivered the letter to Robbie yesterday. Also, I made the appointment with Mavis. It's tomorrow at 2 as you asked. Vicky said, picking up Christy's juice. She drinks it. How could you just take a pregnant woman juice? Jensen asks, giving Christy his glass of juice. Vicky smiles. Because I knew you would give her yours. She laughs. I left everything else in your office downstairs, Vicky said, walking back into the house. Jay and Christy laugh. Jensen stands up, walks over to Christy. You know you do not have to worry about Veronica or anyone else. You are my true love. He squats down, kisses her cheek. Now eat. While I called Robbie. You are my true love too, Christy said, smiling, looking at him, dialing Robbie's number. Phone conversation. Robbie, hello. Jay, hi Robbie, this is Jensen. Robbie, are you okay? Jay, yes, I am. But no thanks to you. Anyway, the reason I am calling is to invite you to dinner. So we can talk. Robbie, sure, anytime. You name it and I am there. Jay, this Saturday at 7. I will text you the address Saturday morning. Robbie, okay. End of call. Christy stands up, wraps her arms around him, lays her head on his chest. I know that was hard for you. You did good, I am proud of you. Don't worry about her or anyone else. Nobody will ever hurt you again. I got you. Jensen wraps his arms around her. Kisses the top of her head. I got you too, Daddy and Mary. Mary is sitting in an adult high chair. She is looking at her daddy. He is cooking bacon and eggs. He walks over to the blender and turns it on. Finally, some real food, she is thinking as she is looking at the stove. Daddy pours the blended mixture into a bowl. He picks up a spoon out of the drawer. He sits the bowl and the spoon on the high chair tray. Okay, now Mary, the first want you to eat every bite. It's healthy and it's good for you. She looks at the bowl of the pureed mixture. Mary looks at him, then over at the stove. That is Daddy's breakfast. You will start on solid foods soon, he said, picking up the spoon, handing it to her. Mary picks the bowl up, throws it on the floor. She folds her hands, looks at him, and starts pouting. Okay, I see this is how you want to play it. He snatches her out of the high chair. He sits down into a chair, lays her across his lap. He starts spanking her for about 10 minutes. Mary is crying and rubbing her butt. Damn, he has some heavy hands. I am glad that is over with, she is thinking. But he starts spanking her again. She starts crying louder. Mary, you have gotten on my last nerve. He carries her to the nursery. Since I do not want to hear or see you for the rest of the day, you will be punished. He picks up a silver box. What in the hell is that? She is thinking, looking at him walking toward her. You did this to yourself. He places the box over her head. He locks it in the back and takes the key with him. He walks out of the nursery. I can't believe that bastard did this to me. Damn, it's dark in here. She is thinking while sitting in her crib. Daddy and Rahim are sitting in the kitchen eating breakfast. Rahim, I do not like this baby. She does not listen well. To be honest, she is not good in bed. She can't suck a dick worth shit. Not even to save her own damn life. Daddy is drinking his coffee. Well then, we have a few options. You could trade her to Ted for one of his, or I can kill her. Rahim is looking toward the direction of the nursery. Nope, I am going to break her, if I have to kill her to do. Daddy said, drinking his coffee. Chapter 27. After Robbie hangs up from talking to Jensen, she smiles, then she bursts out in tears. She never thought that she would hear from him. She is overjoyed. I will make sure that we work things out. I hope this means that he has forgiven me. She is thinking as she finally stops crying. Robbie stands up, wipes her face. Now let me take this check to the bank, so I can pay off my son's house, she said, walking toward the door. Jensen and Christie's outing. Jensen takes Christie to Wolfgang Puck Bar and Grill after their doctor's appointment. After having lunch, they are shopping for Destiny at the English Rabbit. Christie and Jensen are looking at a pink striped dress by Takoto Vintage. I love this, our little girl is going to look so beautiful in this, Christie said, looking at Jay. Destiny will be just like her mommy. She will look good in anything. He leans over and kisses her belly. Cliff is on the phone talking to Eddie. Then he looks at Jensen. Hey, you two, I hate to spoil your outing, but Eddie thought earlier that we were being followed. He called Bobby to follow us to make sure. It is confirmed. Bobby is trying to catch whoever it is. Did they follow us from home? Jay asks, looking worried. No, it seems that the car made a U-turn at one of the intersection. It started at the time. It is a woman. But Bobby lost her when we were parking. Cliff said, looking at Eddie and Bobby standing by the door. Maybe it is one of Jay's groupies, she said, smiling, looking at him. He wraps his arms around. I don't feel comfortable about this. Especially since this woman is following us. He kisses her cheek. After we check out, we are going home. I want you to be safe. Okay, she said as she is picking up a pair of pink crib shoe sneaker by Fendi. This will look great with this dress. Cliff and Jensen is looking at her, smiling. Nothing will interfere with Christie's shopping, Jay said, laughing. Veronica POV. Veronica is hiding in the restroom in a store that is 3 stores away from the English Rabbit. She is hiding from Bobby. I can't believe the luck that I had. I was on my way to work when I saw Jensen seating in the back seat of a black Navigator. I almost caused an accident. When I made that damn U-turn. My plan was to follow the SUV. I was hoping that it would lead me to his home. The next thing I knew, I was being followed by a man. I will just stay here for a few hours. Hopefully, the man will leave. She is thinking as she sits on the toilet. The day Jensen and I broke up was the worst day of my life. He had been studying for days for his final exams. I wanted to go out. He said that I should go, that he didn't want me to stay in because he was studying for a test. That night changed everything. His friend Avery and I were hanging out together. The next thing I knew, I was sitting in Avery's lap, attacking his lips. Then we were in his room taking each other clothes off. The next morning when I woke up, I felt so bad for having sex with him. I couldn't face Jensen for a few days. But Avery didn't seem to have a problem still hanging out with him. Avery never spoke to me again after we did that terrible thing to Jensen. Well, besides the next morning. The only thing he said was that having sex with me was a mistake. He hopes Jensen doesn't ever find out. That he knew that I was not the right one for Jensen. Then he told me to get out of his room. I dropped out of college 2 months later. When I saw Jensen in those commercials and all the other ads, I realized that I still have feelings for him. Then the day in the restaurant. I thought if he just looks at me that he would realize that he still loves me. But he didn't really look at me but once. After that, his attention was on that damn Christina. I started a fan club hoping that would give me a chance to talk to him. But those damn people at the company will not let me through the door. Maybe I should contact his mother. She is thinking back at Christy and Jensen's. When Jensen and Chris return home, David and his twin are on the playground. Chris looks at them for a minute before she looks away. Jensen notices and he rubs her hand. Don't rush it. Nobody can blame you, he said as Eddie and Cliff are opening their door. Bobby walks up to the 4 of them. We might need to double security on you two when you go out. Okay, she said, walking into the house. What's wrong with Chris? Eddie asks Cliff. She saw David playing with his twins, Cliff said as they are walking behind Jensen. Eddie and Bobby nod their head. Linda and her husband Floyd met them in the kitchen. But Chris didn't say anything. She went straight to the elevator. Jensen is behind her. The couple is looking at her and Jensen. She will be okay, Cliff whispers, looking at Linda and Floyd, but Linda is still looking at her worried. Once on the elevator, Jensen wraps his arms around her. Do you want me to tell him to leave? I don't like you hurting like this. No, I have to get used to him and them. It just makes me think about what I missed out on with him. But I will be okay, she lays her head on his chest. But they do need some more clothes. Maybe I should have them some delivered, she said as they are walking off the elevator. Anything you want to do is fine with me. As long as you can do it from the bed and a tablet. I also need to check your blood pressure. Remember what Aunt Pat said about not stressing. He is walking her toward their bedroom. Daddy and Mary. It has been hours since Daddy put Mary's head in the box. She is still sitting in her crib. But she hasn't said a word since she stopped crying. She nodded off a few times. I can't believe that he has left me in here this long. He is a monster. I didn't do anything to deserve this shit. She is thinking, then she hears the opening. Daddy opens the door just to see what she is doing. Daddy, is that you? She said in a soft voice. What do you want, Mary? He said, standing in the door, looking at her. Can I eat now? I will not throw it, Mary said, putting her hands together, begging him. Daddy walks over to her crib. No, you still have a few more hours in your box. You have to learn your lesson. I am tired of talking to you about your nasty behavior. You keep this up and you will end up just like my other babies. Beaten and throat cut, he said as he walks towards the door. Oh shit. He is talking about really killing me, she whispers. The next day, Christy and Jensen are getting ready to go meet Mavis. She and Jensen did not come down for dinner or breakfast, they ate upstairs in their sitting area. David, Cliff, Eddie, Bobby, and the twins are in the den. When Christy and Jensen walk downstairs, the twins look up, they see Christy, both smile at her. Then they run over to her. She looks at them as they take her hands. She takes a step back, then she stops, looking at the two girls. Jensen is looking at her. He doesn't know what to expect. Lane and Laken leave her alone, David said, standing up to get them. No, they are fine, she said, shaking her head at David. David sits down, looking at her and the twins. I am Laken, that's Lane. What's your name? The little girl said, looking up at Christy. Christy smiles. I am Christina. But you two may call me Chris. She closes her eyes for a second and takes a deep breath. She opens her eyes. I am your sister. The twins look at their father. David smiles. Yes, she is your big sister. You two are very lucky, he said, smiling. Will you play house with us? Lane asks, looking at Christy's belly. Oh, as much as I would love to. I can't right now, I on my way to a business meeting. But I do have a surprise for you two and your father. Some peoples will be delivering you all some things today, Chris said, looking at the twins, then at David. Chris, we better be on our way, Eddie said, looking at his watch. Okay, hopefully, I will see you all at dinner, she said as Jensen takes her hand. You did good, sweetheart, he whispers as they are walking out of the door. At Christie's company, Vicky and Bryant are reading several letters that were sent to Jensen. Sarah in the PA department sent them up for Christie and Jensen to read. "This is not good," Vicky said, shaking her head. Bryant is still looking at one of the letters. What grown-ass person in their right mind write a love letter in crayons? None. She is crazy as hell, Vicky said, dumping out a pair of panties out of the brown envelope into the trash can. Nobody wants to smell her nasty-ass panties. Vicky is looking into the trash. Bryant looks at the panties. Maybe we should burn them. Chris is not going to like this. He opens another brown envelope. But this time the letter has cut open letters from magazines. I am not even going to read these. You, Chris and Jensen can, he said, sliding the letter back inside the envelope. Vicky takes the envelope from him. Neither am I. She and Jensen can if they want to. I know this shit is from that damn Veronica. She is obsessed with him. Now that he has moved on and rich. She said as she lay them with the rest of the mail that she will take to Chris and Jensen tomorrow. Hell if she knows what is good for her. This Veronica bitch better get obsessed with someone else. Chris has clammed down since she and Jensen been together. But you know her temper. Bryant said. Yep, and Veronica will find out. If she keeps this shit up. Vicky said, moving her neck around. Meeting Mavis. Jensen and Chris walk into Mavis's shop. Cliff is walking behind them. Mavis is looking at the two with her mouth wide open. So are the customers. Some are taking pictures or recording Jay and Chris. Christy and Jensen walk over to Mavis. Hi Mavis, I am Christina and this is Jensen. We are your new business partners. Chris said with her hand out to shake her hand. But instead, Mavis reaches for her and hugs her. I am sorry about that. I just got excited. Wait, did you say that you two are my partners? Yes, Jensen said, looking at her smiling. Mavis is shaking her head. I never would have thought that they're my partners. But why? She is thinking. She looks at the two. They are looking around the shop. Well, Mavis, everything looks fantastic, Christy said, picking up a blouse, looking at it. I love this. Christy is right, it looks great. We just came by to introduce ourselves. Starting next month we want to start having monthly meetings. Jensen said. Sure, that sounds great. You two know that I know David, right? She asks, looking at them. Yes, we know, Jensen said, nodding his head. I just didn't want any secrets between us, Mavis said. That's good, I believe our partnership will work out great, Christina said, walking toward the cash register. Sweetheart, it will be a couple more months before you can wear this, he said, reaching in his wallet to get a credit card to pay for the blouse. Yes, but Vicky can wear now. She kisses his cheek. You two are too cute. I do not know what made you two decide to invest in me or the shop. But I thank God every day. Mavis said as Jensen is signing the credit card receipt. Let's just say that we don't like to see bad things happen to good people. It was nice to finally meet you. Chris said, smiling. Same here, Mavis is smiling and looking confused. We need to be going. We will talk to you soon. Jay said as he and Christy are walking toward the door. I wonder what did she mean. Mavis is thinking as she is looking at Jay and Christy. Veronica, you know that you can't live here with me forever. So I advise to some searching. Natalie said, looking at Veronica. Yes, Mother, I know. I can't believe that jerk fired me because I was a couple of hours late for work yesterday. This is Christina's fault, keeping Jensen from me. Veronica yells. A little boy starts crying. Be quiet, little one. Mommy didn't mean to yell. Veronica said, hugging the boy. Since you are not working today, don't think that I am going to babysit. You need to spend more time with Jensen anyway. Her mother said, handing the little boy his sippy cup. Veronica is looking up at her mother. I was supposed to meet Ella at the movies. Natalie is shaking her head. A movie? You better be saving that money. You don't have a job. Why are you punishing me? Veronica yells as she is looking at her mother walking out the front door. The little boys start crying again. Don't cry. This is that woman's fault. She is keeping us from your father. But once he finds out about you, he will come back, Veronica said, kissing the boy's forehead. Chapter 28. Saturday evening. Robbie has just finished dressing to have dinner with Christy and Jensen. She decided that she would sit on her porch to relax for a few minutes before driving to their home. She is reading the text again that Jensen sent her with his and Christy's address. When a car pulls up that she had not seen in a couple of years. This girl is nothing but trouble. My husband nor I liked her. He always said that she was lazy and would bring our son down. I wonder what is she up to? Robbie is thinking as she is looking at Veronica closing the driver's side door. Veronica looks at Robbie and smiles. Robbie didn't smile, she just keeps looking at her. Then Veronica opens the back door of her car, reaching in for her son. Oh, I see what she is up to, Robbie whispers to herself. She is looking at the little boy and Veronica walking on the porch. She sits down holding the boy in her lap. Hi, how are you? Veronica is still smiling at Robbie. I am fine. Why are you here? She said, looking at Veronica. Veronica didn't expect Robbie to be so direct. Because Robbie has always been so easygoing. So she puts on a fake smile and looks at the woman. This is your grandson. I thought that was time for you and his father to meet him. He is young, he needs his father in his life. It's Jensen here. Veronica stands up, walks over to Robbie, and sits her son on Robbie's lap. Jensen, this is your grandmother. Robbie leans down to take a closer look at the little boy. She looks over at Veronica. He is handsome. Everyone in the world knows that Jensen and Christina, his girlfriend, lives together. She shakes her head, still looking at Veronica. I can't believe you have the nerves to name him after my son. Because this boy is not Jensen's son. He doesn't resemble anyone in our family. But to be on the safe side, let's take a DNA test. Veronica looks at her in disbelief. I can't believe that you are saying that to me. I have no reason to lie to you. I will not put my son through that. She yells. Well then, take your son and leave. We will not accept your Jensen into our family until we have the results from a DNA test saying that he is my son's son. Veronica, you are only trying to con my son out of some money. Did you really expect me to believe that this little boy is Jensen's son? You have seen his ads everywhere and that he is happy and living a wonderful life. So now out of the blue your son is his. Girl, please, nobody is falling for that old trick. Robbie picks the little boy up off of her lap and hands him to her. Veronica is holding her son. Give me Jensen's phone number and he and I will discuss this. Robbie laughs. Not in this lifetime. Get your skinny ass off of my porch. The only grandchild that I have is the one that Christina is carrying. If you change your mind about having a DNA test done, let me know. Veronica is still standing on Robbie's porch looking at her. Do I need to call the police to have you removed from my property? Now get off my porch and out of my yard. Robbie picks her phone up looking at Veronica. No, we are leaving. Veronica stomps off the porch rolling her eyes at Robbie. That hussy must think that I fell off the turnip truck this morning. One thing I can say is that I learned from dealing with David is not to take anyone's words so lightly. Requesting for a DNA test is not asking for too much. That proves right there that he is not my son's child. Robbie said as she is looking at Veronica backing out of the driveway. Back at Jensen and Christie's. Jensen and Christie are sitting upstairs in the family room. He has been on his laptop writing a report for one of his classes. But right now he is on the phone talking to Detective Spaulding. The detective called Jensen to give him an update on Daphne and their parents' cases. Christie is reading some papers for her company. She is also sniffing a new perfume that hasn't been put on the market yet. Christie has some foundation and other makeup items laying on the table in front of her. She is waiting for Jay to finish talking to the detective. He hangs up the phone. Jay looks at her as he walks over to sit beside her, taking her hand into his. Well, sweetheart, all the evidence came back to show that Tiffany killed our parents and your grandmother. The DA is pressing charges against her. He said that she has skipped town. But if she ever shows her face here again, she will be arrested. He laughs. Well, if her owner doesn't kill her or gets tired of her, you and I will make sure that they find her. Christie lays her free hand on top of his. Linda walks into the room. Your dinner guest will be here in a few minutes. She hands Christie a glass of milk. Christie takes the glass and takes a deep breath. Thank you. Okay, we will be down in a few minutes. She looks over at Jay. He is looking into space. She waits until Linda is out of the room before she says anything. Babe, there is still time to cancel it. Jensen shakes his head. No, let's get this over with, he said as they hear the doorbell ring. He helps her up to her feet. They walk to the elevator. Linda is leading Robbie to the formal living room. Robbie is looking around the room when Jensen and Christie walk into the room. Linda has a tray with 2 wine glasses of wine and a glass of ginger ale on it. Thank you for coming, Christie said as Jensen helps her to sit down. Jensen looks at his mother. Yes, thank you. Robbie smiles. Thank you for inviting me. You two have a beautiful home. Why did you sell me? He blurts out, looking at her. He didn't waste any time. Christie is thinking, looking at Robbie waiting to hear her answer. His mother drops her head. I was stupid. If I could go back to that day I wouldn't make that mistake again. I hope you will forgive me one day. I will not rush you. But I want to be in your life and my grandchild's life. Jensen and Christie are looking at her. They can see that she is being sincere. Christy and I have a lot to work on right now. Between trying to forgive you and David. I will work on forgiving you. But I will not forget it. Our child will never be left alone with you or him. Jensen is looking at his mother. Robbie is looking at him and Christy confused. David. You lost me. Jay and I just discovered that David is my biological father. She is looking at Robbie. Robbie is still looking confused, but this time at Christy. That man is your father. It's a long story, Jensen said as they are standing up to walk to the dining room for dinner. During dinner, nobody said a word. Robbie is still processing that David is Chris's father. Then she thought about Veronica. I need to tell them about her. She is thinking as they are just finishing eating. Is anything wrong? Jensen asks her. I am not sure, but I think it is something that you two should know. She said, looking at her son. He is taking Christy's hand. Okay, Christy said, looking at her. Robbie tells them everything that Veronica said about Jensen's being her son's father. Jensen laughs. She is crazy. I stopped being intimate with her some months before we broke up. I would lie about studying so I wouldn't have to be around her. I found out that she was using drugs. Every time I tried to break up with her, she would try to kill herself. She also slept with Avery a few months before she dropped out of school. Avery and her think that I don't know. But I knew about it the next day, I just didn't care. I treated her nicely, but that was as far as it went. Christy is rubbing her large swollen belly looking at him. Jay, I believe you, but we still have to be sure. We don't need him to come here years later saying that he is yours. If she is still on drugs, he doesn't need to be in that environment. Jensen kisses her forehead and rubs her belly. Okay, sweetheart. But our little Destiny is the only child that I have. Robbie smiles, looking at Jensen. He is lifting Christy's legs up, laying them across his lap, massaging her swollen feet. His father taught him how to treat a lady. Thank God was a good man. Father and husband. She is thinking.